Yes, so welcome to the France 24 debate. Tonight, the controversy over the religious leader who wants to burn the Qur'an. He's called Terry Jones, and this is how he justifies his plan, which, of course, has outraged people worldwide.
We are sending a message to them that we do not want them to do as they appear to be doing in Europe. They appear to begin as they grow in numbers to push their agenda, to push Sharia law. What we are saying to them is that if they're in America, they need to respect, honor, and obey our Constitution and not slowly try to push their agenda upon us.
Well, if it happens, it's set to happen in the United States. Terry Jones is a pastor to a congregation of, well, some 50 people in a city in Florida. His stunt has certainly made headlines. This programme, I suppose, even bears witness to that. But what could the consequences of his act be if he actually burns the Muslim holy book? A constant stream of criticism been raining in. In the Muslim world, of course, the message is clear. Iraq's Prime Minister says it could even be, well, his word, pretext for violence. Pakistan's ambassador to the USA has also joined in the argument. Tonight we're asking, well, what happens if Terry Jones goes ahead with this stunt? You could call it atrocity in some people's minds. Certainly burning a book in anybody's culture seems to be a very strange thing to choose to do. And what can the West do to make sure that it doesn't result in the loss of lives in other areas of conflict? Our guests to discuss this are Fouad Al-Obaid, excuse me for tripping over your name, Fouad.
No worries.
From the Kuwait Times, based here in Paris. On the other side of our plateau is Anne Tessine, a professor at Paris-Ouest Nanterre University. Your book, Anne?
Les États-Unis, une nouvelle donne.
Okay, that's
a new deal.
A new deal for the United States, okay. John MacArthur joins us from New York. John is publisher of Harper's Magazine, a regular and very welcome contributor to our programmes. John, it's good to see you over there. Maybe one day we'll see you in the flesh, I hope. In Lyon, Azzedine Bahi, rector of the Central Mosque there. Azzedine has contributed before on our programme, certainly on our Arabic channel, and I think, sir, this is your debut with us here in English. You're very welcome, and obviously we'll come to you as soon as we can. In Chicago, Ahmed Rehab is the Executive Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Sir, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, and you'll be speaking to us very, very, very shortly. In Chicago, Ahmed Rehab is there from the Council on American Islamic Relations. Ahmed, this situation clearly must make your position on the fence between maybe a number of communities all the more difficult.
Well, if you're talking about the proposed burning of the Qur'an situation, that's not really the case. I mean, to me, it's more of a disturbing situation than a difficult one. It's also an embarrassing situation. You know, when Muslim radicals burn flags and embassies, that's extremely embarrassing for us as Muslims, even though they don't represent us. And we say they're a radical fringe, but still, a lot of people around the world see that as Muslim behavior. Likewise, now, as an American, when this, you know, quote-unquote fellow American of mine is sending this message to the world that, you know, of intolerance and hatred, you know, we're trying to say, listen, this guy is a fringe radical, he does not represent us, but guess what? Unfortunately, the same way it happens before, it will happen now. People will misunderstand him to be representative of Americans and what Americans believe. So it's embarrassing.
Can I pause you and bring in, from Chicago, Ahmed Rehab. Ahmed, in terms of what Barack Obama is doing or isn't doing, do you think he should talk to this pastor in Florida?
No.
You think no? Anne says no. Anne says no. What do you say?
I think it's irrelevant. I think this man is looking for attention. He's not going to budge just because the president called him.
Let's not talk about him anymore then. Tell us what you think about the Islamophobia angle.
Well, okay, I'm glad you're asking me that because I've been very kind of itchy wanting to jump in and
Go
say
ahead.
things. The first thing is this. Every faith community has its good guys and its bad guys. Religion in the hands of bad guys is bad, and in the hands of good guys is obviously going to do the right thing. Now, we have crazy individuals in the Muslim community. I don't agree with the guest that says they're not Muslim. If they say they're Muslim, they're Muslim. We have our bad apples like everybody else. So does the Jewish community, the Catholic, and the Lutheran, every other community. The point, though, is this. The point is we need to understand that there is a movement brewing in the West, particularly here in the United States, and in Europe for that matter, that is basically trying to pit Islam as the problem and as the threat against Western democracies and civilizations. That, ironically, is the exact same ideology that bin Laden and al-Qaeda are trying to further. Both groups, who come from very different perspectives, but in an ironic manner, essentially agree on the bottom line, want to tell the world that there's an innate conflict between the West and Islam. In the middle is all of us, Muslims, Jews, Christians, humanists, secularists, atheists, everybody else who has a level, head trying to say, look, the problem is not a war between civilizations, but rather between radicals on either side. There's one tradition, and it's called the tradition of extremism, and it doesn't matter which religion you belong to. If you're part of that tradition, you're part of the same ideology.
We're getting an agreement here in the studio. I just want to ask you just a very quick one, Ahmed. John MacArthur's saying that basically the presence in Afghanistan is really the worst thing in its whole equation. Would you agree with that?
Well, being in Afghanistan, you're saying, just to make sure I understood the question?
Yes, the actual presence of a military force in Afghanistan. This is obviously possibly the worst thing in this whole equation.
Well, it's definitely not helping, but I don't think we have to differentiate between things. We've been in Afghanistan for a while. We can debate whether that's the right thing or not, but when we start talking about people burning the Qur'an as a statement, essentially saying that Islam itself is the enemy, and not the Taliban or Al-Qaeda, whether you agree with that or not, is just taking it to a whole different ballgame and cannot be seen as an extension of the former issue. They're two separate issues altogether.
Thank you very much.